10 days ago, I used to draw eyes that look like this, this, and this. And in the past 10 days, I did an artist copy of these 3 amazing artists, and each taught me some important lessons of how to draw eyes. And now, my eyes look like this. Normally, when I first start learning something, I just go to YouTube and search what I want to know. And just by looking at drawing eyes, there are a ton of videos. So just like anyone else, I watched a bunch of videos, and from this, let me recap these 5 videos I found very interesting. Remember, if you want it, the name of the videos will be on the screen, so if you want to look more in depth, go ahead. In general, I know this tips when drawing eyes. So if you look at the 3D version of a real eye, you notice that there are these structures. To be honest, I have no clue what these names are or how they look fully because I'm still learning as well. And basically, any of these stylized art is a simplification of this structure. And one thing I learned is to help with simplification. Multiple video mentioned this specific shape. Sometimes it's called the leaf shape. For me, it kind of looks like a 3 windows kind of looking thing. But by imagining this simple shape in different angles, I was able to imagine what an eye would look like in different angles as well. So in the first few days, I picked up a lot of multiple realistic references to develop my base understanding of the eyes before I could do anything else. Because stylization is simplification. I can't really simplify if I don't really know the base, right? So first, I tried to draw the eyes, just the eyes, and see how it looks. And just looking at it, it doesn't feel complete. So I just tried to do the rest of the face to see whether the eyes actually look good or not. So for the rest of my time, I just spent drawing the face as well. Looking at these first few sketches, I was actually surprised how much I feel like I improved. I think visualizing the eyeball and trying to wrap these 3 window shape around it really pushed my ability to depict those complex perspectives because I don't know if I would have understood how to do it. And of course, foreshortening has always been a hurdle, and it's still a hurdle here. And for those who don't know, foreshortening is like a way of portraying something of depth. So when something is further away from the camera or from the eye, it appears smaller. And you can see this when you look something very, very far, like a tree far apart. You can see it's way smaller than its actual size. And we need to depict this when drawing as well. And it is very much clearly seen when things are turned in an angle, and this allows us to understand depth, but that doesn't mean my brain understands it and tries to replicate it. So that has been the biggest challenge, but I know I just need a little practice. And if you're still sitting there and wondering if you should start with realistic drawing, here's a sneak peek of my drawing in day 9. It is pretty close to realistic drawing, but I drew it in anime style, and it's actually inspired by one of the artist copies. So if you think that's pretty good, let's explore exactly how each artist stylized my drawing. So who's this artist I studied? It's none other than Yone Yamamai. I chose Yone Yamamai because of her art style. If you look at it, it closely matches some realism, and she literally has an illustration book called Eye. Looking closely at her illustrations, she weirdly enough tries to draw the tear ducts, which is pretty rare in that style, and the eye shape somehow feels similar to a real eye. And I say sometimes, because depending on how she draws and what she wants to draw, she draws more typical anime style and more realistic style. But one thing's for sure is she knows how to draw her eyes. To start out, I selected 3 images by Yone Yamamai, and I tried to make them vary by angle and try to capture as much variation as possible so that I can practice a 1-to-1 copy. This hopefully will help me internalize how she draws, how she crafts the eye. One thing I noticed is when it's close to realism, she draws each and individual hair for the eyelashes. Look at that. And the eye shape, of course, looks somehow realistic, which I don't know. It feels, for me, feels perfect, but it's just unique looking closely. Of course, she normally also draws anime style, which at that point she groups the eyelashes into like chunks, and the eye shape kind of closely resembles typical anime style. And as for the iris, I think it's the same in both instances. It's really hard to tell the difference, but when it comes to coloring the eyes, that's a different matter. Coloring. what is unique about Yone Yamamai's coloring? Well, this is actually hard to decipher. When it comes to the simple anime style, well, she does a simple coloring with shadows at the top, highlights at the bottom, and white reflective circles. That's like the common things. But one thing that I did notice is if you look closely at the edge of the iris, it's a completely different color. Like, look at this. It is green and blue. That's crazy. And I think this is to make the iris more pop out, and that's my assumption of why it does. And when it comes to the other part of coloring, the eyelash is normally dark brown and the tear duct is normally red orange color, and I think this is consistent around multiple characters I've seen, and I think the contrast makes the eye more pop. But when it comes to when she draw realistic eyes, I don't think I can even get close to deciphering what technique she uses here. So I'll stick to the simple one for now. Did it pay off? Learning from Yone Yamamai? Well, in the end, after learning from all the artists, I decided that I would draw at least one illustration of the same style. So if you want to see, wait a bit to see my progress. But before that, who are these two artists that I didn't mention? Well, that would be Mika Picasso and Kaya Sabanhara. I chose Mika Picasso particularly to learn how she colors, while I chose Kaya Sabanhara on the way it looks. I don't know what, but it's very mesmerizing. And similar with Yone Yamamai studies, I picked 3 different illustrations and see if I can capture some variety. For Mika Picasso, the main thing I learned is how she colors. I mean, that's the whole style of Mika Picasso, is her coloring style. In terms of the eye shape, I think it's more traditional in the typical anime style. I know that she also includes the tear ducts here and there, but the main show, as I said, is the coloring of the eyes. If you look at this example, if you literally color pick it, it is 2 colors on the opposite of the color wheel. They have light blue and orange. I have never seen anyone do that before. And Mika Picasso is not shy from using colors. The other type of color she uses is some that's expected to be the same shade, but she chooses varying colors. But it's not just random colors. If you look at this picture, for example, if you color pick these ones, you can notice that they're analogous colors, basically colors that are next to each other, but not typical still, as she has a way wider range as she chooses whole different hues from each other. And initially I thought Yone Yamamai was the only one to add the different color at the edge of the iris, but in fact it seems that Mika Picasso also does the same, but the way she chooses her colors is completely different. But it seems to be like in her own style. I haven't really found a pattern of why she chooses the colors at the edge, but they also seem to do it. Switching to Kaya Sabanhara, there's 3 things I learned from their illustration. First is how they draw the bottom eyelashes. I don't know why, but I really like how it looks. I think by having the bottom eyelash poke out in that fashion and then creating that contrast between the top and the bottom on how it's colored really draws out the eyes. You clearly focus on those eyelashes, and I think those eyelashes look really good. Following that, the second thing is the way the iris is drawn. There's the color is similar similar hue but different contrast and saturation. But the thing that makes it pop out is having multiple close to white highlights, so you really observe it. But then this whole thing is wrapped around the pupil, which is the third thing I noticed. Looking far, the pupil looks to be white, but in reality, if you choose a color pick and see what color it is, it's actually pretty close to the skin color, which I don't know how this witchery works, but it actually looks pretty good. So from all this observation, did my eye drawing skill improve? As I said at the beginning, let's try to draw in the same style as Yone Yamamai, Mika Picasso, and Kaya Sabanhara. And if you cannot believe this This is the same illustration from the beginning when I first started drawing, and this is now. It's night and day. Now that I have the secret, can I say I can draw the perfect eyes? Well, only time will tell.